Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of great North Stand that rule well, and Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. I am the brother Kalab, and I'm from the GMS UK London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson to help edify those of which I spoke of. So I've got this article here, which was published on the 19th of May, which was yesterday. It says, Cuba runs out of oil. Surprising terminology changes at State Department. Cuba's government says that the Caribbean island nation has ran out of oil following a months-long energy blockade by the United States in hopes of forcing political change. We hear about what might happen next for Cubans. And the State Department is changing the way that US diplomats talk about the migration and refugees, embracing the Great Replacement theory promoted by white nationalists. Now, I'll say this, right? This is Cuba. What is it? What I was going to say is, yeah, this is Cuba running out of oil, but this is just the first of many countries that are going to experience this. And if you notice, this, as they call a so-called third world country, they're suffering first because a lot of these so-called third world countries are places where Jake are at. So Jake are going to feel the harshest, the sharpest sting of the tail, the shittiest end of the stick, so to speak. And Esau's going to let them suffer pretty much because Esau's going to hoard all that shit for himself because Esau's never cared about Jake. But yeah, this is like one of the first of many dominoes that are going to start to topple and run out of fuel in terms of countries as a result of this US-Israel war against Iran and the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. So let's read on. If it even lets me. Shit, this is one of them. It's one of them ones where I think you might have to pay to subscribe to read it. Let me play this.
From the NBC News podcast, here's the scoop. This month, senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett talks with experts and lawyers behind Supreme Court cases of the past and how those cases are shaping decisions today. Listen now on Here's the Scoop.
Today on State of the World, Cuba runs out of oil and surprising terminology changes at the State Department. You're listening to State of the World from NPR. We bring you the day's most vital international stories up close where they're happening. I'm Greg Dixon. In a few minutes, why is the U.S. State Department changing the way it refers to refugees and migration? First, Cuba's government says the country has run out of oil. The U.S. imposed an energy blockade on the Caribbean island starting in January, an effort to force political change. Now Cubans are living with sustained blackouts, relying on wood and charcoal for cooking and lighting. To understand what might happen in Cuba now, we're going to hear from Jorge Piñon. He's an energy researcher at the University of Texas at Austin. He also served as president of Amoco Oil Latin America. He spoke to Scott Detrow.
So you spoke to us back in January, right when this all began, right when the U.S. began this blockade. How would you characterize what has happened in Cuba since that conversation?
Well, the blackouts continue because about 40% of them are out of service because of technical issues, and the rest now because of the lack of fuel. But it's not only now electric power that's lacking, but also cooking fuel or diesel for tractors and diesel for trucks. So what used to be an issue or a challenge for the electric power sector now is a big issue and challenge for the whole economy of the island.
What are ways that you see this play out in everyday life right now?
There are people all over the island, for example, folks that we know that were going from Santiago to Havana and then got stuck in Havana and they couldn't come back to Santiago, and they've been stuck there for weeks. There's no cooking fuel. Your refrigerators don't work, so your food will spoil. Now comes the summer months. Heat is about to come in. So your fans and all other equipment electrical and otherwise, doesn't work either. So we're talking about an economy really that has shut down both electrically and again for fuel.
I want to talk about the politics of this. And of course, President Trump has been pretty clear, saying out loud that he wants to see regime changes in Cuba. Last week, CIA Director John Radcliffe visited Cuba, and he had a message for the country, for its leaders, saying there's a path forward. Make political and economic reforms in exchange for support from the U.S. I want to talk about that, but first I want to play back a clip that's something you told us in January that stuck with us.
That will create a political vacuum. The church is not going to come in and handle that or fill that vacuum. We think that the Cuban military will then fill that vacuum. And then the big question that we all have are Mexican drug cartels then going to fill that vacuum?
All of this was more hypothetical back in January. Here we are in May. What are you seeing in terms of power structures in Cuba?
Still very concerned about the vacuum. Who's going to lead the country in whichever political and economic model we have? You know, Scott, one of the things is there's no Fidel anymore. There's no leadership. As I said earlier, the church doesn't have it. And the military probably is the only organization that can really, quote unquote, take over the country. But it's going to be very, very difficult again because of the lack of leadership within a new economic and political model.
I wanted to broaden this out at the end, given how much of an oil crunch there is around the world right now, whether it's jet fuel becoming in scarce supply in Europe or higher gasoline prices in the United States. I think a lot of people around the world are thinking about scenarios like this. Of course, Cuba is its own economy, but I'm wondering, even given that, is there anything the U.S. or other countries can learn from what is happening in Cuba right now, a society without oil?
Yes, again, that every single source of energy, whether it's renewables, whether it's biomass, whether it's wind, are required and needed within a balanced energy matrix. It's a very complex issue, and it's not only Cuba. You have the Dominican Republic, you have Puerto Rico, you have Panama facing the same challenges. Transitional and growing economies that need to balance their electric matrix. Again, reliable plus renewable and clean. That's what we all want.
That is University of Texas at Austin energy researcher Jorge Pinon. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Scott.
In diplomacy, words matter. And recently, the U.S. State Department dramatically changed the way diplomats talk about refugees and migration. As Michelle Kellerman tells us, it's echoing language used by white nationalists.
Before he retired from the State Department last month, Robbie Marks says he had to learn a lot of new terms, like remigration, that is, encouraging immigrants to go back to their home countries.
A term that's used in some parts of Europe on the far right to sort of describe a sort of cleansing of migrants from Europe.
Now he says it's one of the three main goals of his former office, which oversees America's refugee assistance programs. Another new priority was to resettle only white South Africans and no other refugees.
And then the third thing that we were told that we had to work on with all of our partners was to change the Overton window on how we talk about and treat refugees.
In political theory, changing the Overton window means mainstreaming fringe ideas. David Beer, the director of immigration studies at the Libertarian Cato Institute, puts it this way.
It really means providing legitimacy to concepts and ideas that before would have been politically toxic or seen as fringe.
And he says the State Department did just that this week by issuing a statement denouncing what it calls replacement immigration and promoting remigration.
The far right.
Yeah, so listening to this, you can hear how Esau's moving. Esau don't want you Israelites in America, pretty much. And this is, really ties into Jacob's trouble. And now a lot of you people who have trusted on Esau thinking that, he's changed and, now he's cleaned up his act and, he's for our people now. Esau's never been for your people. That was always a thinly veiled disguise for him to play as if, I should say for them, for the Edomites to play like they're still the heroes on the earth, that they're the most balanced people. They're the most fair. They're the most so-called, diplomatic people. They're the ones to solve all the world's problems, and they've got everybody's best interests at heart. Everybody's best interests at heart. Nah, man, Esau's the same damn devil he's always been, but he's just hiding under this disguise of political correctness. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, Esau hides his hatred with lying lips under the guise of political correctness. This is Proverbs 10 and verse 18. He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. It's another precept. This is Isaiah 47 from verse 1. Excuse me. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. So this is talking about these Edomites here. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh. Pass over the rivers, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. There you go. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel, and the Lord's name is Yahweh. Right? What the hell is this? Why have I got ads there? Shouldn't have no ads, man. No ads. Get rid of that shit. Yeah, exactly. I got this item, right? You're still trying to sneak ads in there. Fuck you, man. What was I saying? As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Yeah, the Lord's name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahweh Shai. The one true God of the Bible's name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, which means he is, he exists, or he to be. And his son's name is Yahweh Shai. Not no God and no Jesus Christ, yeah? Now, Esau is being made bare in these last days because his hatred is being shown. As I just had in this article here, which has gone and fucked up my... No, it hasn't. All right. Yeah, they're talking about how certain countries are facing this oil crisis the hardest first, and in the United States is using this to politically position themselves to take more liberties in these countries due to their lack of oil. So Esau's basically putting demands on Cuba that the Cubans are probably going to have to acquiesce and accept because their country is in dire need of that oil. So Esau, you know, he's hiding his hatred with lying lips. Now they're talking about how they have to change the terminology, and they're only trying to bring white nationals into the country and stop other immigrants from entering into the United States. And those that are there, they're trying to get them deported through avenues like ICE. Sorry, I've coughed a lot. Let's play some more of this.
Right is interpreting it the same way as I'm interpreting it, which is an endorsement of ethnic cleansing and a total block to legal immigration.
A right-wing advocacy group, the John Birch Society, welcomed the statement, saying it shows that the, quote, Great Replacement isn't a conspiracy theory, but a policy of the UN. Groups like that accuse the UN of trying to replace white Americans with non-white immigrants and point to a decades-old UN report that uses the term replacement migration as evidence of their claim. But Beer says it's a statistical term, and the report was about whether immigration could offset population declines.
It has absolutely no stance on the policy. There's no recommendation for it. The idea that the UN was promoting it is totally inaccurate.
State Department spokesperson Tommy Pigott told NPR in a statement that, quote, the role of the United Nations in funding, organizing, and facilitating mass immigration into the United States is beyond dispute and without parallel. He did not provide examples, but said the UN established a, quote, end-to-end immigration highway ferrying millions of illegal aliens up to the U.S. border. That, too, is twisting the facts, says Richard Gowan, a UN watcher at the International Crisis Group.
What UN officials want to do is promote regular, safe, legal migration because, in fact, there is a recognition that many economies around the world do need migrants if they're going to grow and prosper. That's the focus. It's not some sort of grand redesign of the world population.
Gowan says UN diplomats had been expecting the Trump administration to disrupt the International Migration Review Forum last week when countries talked about ways to improve the treatment of migrants, but the U.S. didn't attend and only later put out that statement promoting what U.S. diplomats previously viewed as fringe ideas. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
Yeah, that's the end of that article, but that makes the point. So, you know, we're going to see a lot more countries feeling this crisis of a shortage of oil. And, you know, Esau is going to be set up to try and take advantage of these situations because this is all, you know, Esau's the one responsible for creating these shortages and these crises. So don't be surprised when Esau shows his horns and the devil that he is. This is Deuteronomy 28. This is yeah, this is how these Edomites are, man. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which will not regard the person of the old, nor shew favour to the young, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed. We shall also not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. So Esau is destroying a lot of these Jake countries economically. He's been doing it for years, setting up his puppet political leaders that he can control. And now with this oil crisis, Jake's backed up even more into a corner. So they're going to have to accept even more of Esau's control in draconian terms. But this ain't going to last long because this kingdom is on its way out. But basically, all of these crises are manufactured, and Esau is poised to take the most advantage of it that he can. The scriptures say the thief cometh not but to kill. Let's get that. John 10 and 10. The thief cometh not but for to kill. So let's read that again. The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the return of our Lord and Savior Yahushua, who is going to deliver us from the wrath of our enemies, primarily starting with the nation of Esau, Edom, which is the so-called white people on the face of the earth. So yeah, Lord willing, that was edifying. With that, I want to once again give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of great milestone that rule well, and shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. And I'll catch you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Shalom for now.